Hey, what's happening? Well, check out this diagram. This is a Draw.io diagram, and it's animated, which is cool, but it's moving entirely on its own. You may have seen my video showing interactive diagrams and how to click through them. Well, this diagram, I'm not clicking through it. And look, I can hover my mouse over this diagram and it'll still keep going. So this is live. This is definitely live. But it is in Draw.io. So how did I do this? How did I pull this off? Where it's stepping through the animations without me having to click through. And if we watch long enough, we'll see it's actually looped. So it'll keep going over these animations again and again without me having to intervene. That's pretty cool. How did I pull that off? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you. If that sounds cool to you, if you like where this video is going, please consider dropping a like. If you want to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing. And if there's content you want to see that I'm not covering, please drop a comment. This video actually came from a comment. So when I say please drop a comment, I'm not lying. I'll make the video. Anyway, how did I pull this off? Well, it's all because of this plugin right down here, the Animation.js plugin. If you were to Google animations in Draw.io, you wouldn't find any documentation on this plugin. In fact, as of the recording of this video right now, as I'm talking, this will be the most comprehensive documentation across the internet of this plugin. There is one other video. It doesn't actually show you how to play the animations, so I wouldn't call it entirely comprehensive. That is kind of a big deal. And speaking from experience, figuring that out without documentation was really hard. So I'm going to show you how not only to set up the animations, but also play the animations. Here we go. So this animation.js plugin, if you were to click on this, it's going to open a demo. This demo, cool, shows you, yep, it's a looping animation, not too shabby. But the actual details of how to use it were in here, in the JavaScript code. So this Animation.js file, a whopping, 400 lines of JavaScript and a lot of blank spaces. And I'll point out, not great formatting. Reading through it was how I figured out how to use this library. So I'm going to share that information with you so you don't have to do it. But if we come into Draw.io, this is my diagram that I animated. Here are all the different components. Here's all the text. And what I did to animate the text, I'll show you that in a little bit. But this matches, right? If I come back into Chrome, yep, there's my diagram. So now let's see how I did this step by step with a much simpler diagram. And we'll take that, we'll apply it to this bigger diagram, and you'll see how it all came together. All right, so now we're looking at a much simpler diagram, and this is going to make it easier to demo how to add these animation steps in this animation.js library. So the first thing we need to do, actually activate the library. It's not activated by default, but it is built in. So we would come to Extras, Plugins, and see I've already got it activated, so it's showing up here in my activated plugins. If you don't have it activated, you wouldn't see anything here. You would click Add, and here are all the built-in plugins, right? You pick it from the drop-down. Again, not showing up because it's activated for me already. So I'm going to cancel out of there. And now it would show up here. Cool. It might tell you you have to restart Draw.io in order for it to actually activate and be able to use it. So keep that in mind. But then we close this. And now for the confusing part, because under View, there's technically an animations thing. I don't know what this does. I played with it for a little while, couldn't figure it out. And again, this is not documented at all. Instead, what we're going to actually do is come to Extras, and Animation down here is going to open the animations window. Now we can click on the actual elements that we want to animate and add animations using these buttons down here. Okay, so I'm going to click on A. We want A to fade in. Cool. What did it do? It added these steps to my animations list. So it's going to show this element with a fade in effect. Now, this unique identifier, that corresponds to the ID property that goes along with this element. That's auto-generated. It's also not very intuitive. So it does suck that you have to kind of keep track of that as you're going through. What I found was useful is that these are numbered. So at least in the order that they're showing up, you'll see 1, 2, 3, etc. at the end. There's probably a better way. I don't know what that is. Moving on. Now that I've got the first animation step, I can actually preview this. And sure enough, A shows up. Now this is showing me the preview of what will actually show in my browser. And you notice the things I haven't added animations to, they're not here. Why is that? Well, it's because, and remember, I had to read through the code to figure this out, up around right here, every single element in the diagram is removed. It's added opacity 0 to every single element in the diagram if the animations are activated. So you actually do have to animate everything you want to see in order for it to show up. Leaves a little bit to be desired there. If you don't like that, and I don't like that, if you don't like that, consider contributing. There are 7 commits to this library. It's an extremely powerful plugin. So I don't want to in any way diminish what these guys are doing, but there are 2 contributors to this library and only 7 commits. Most of those commits were actually just moving the file. So it's not very feature rich, specifically because only 2 people have contributed to it. It's totally undocumented. Most people don't know about it. If you want to see more features and you speak JavaScript, this is a great opportunity to get into open source. Okay, coming back into the diagram. So now that we know that every element has to be animated in order to show up, we're going to add animations to other things. Let's maybe add animations to these arrows. You can wipe in with arrows, and what that'll do is that'll extend the arrows to the next element. I didn't actually like that feature, but you might. And then you can also add flow, right? That's the moving arrows that everyone likes so much. So if I add those effects, cool, A shows up, the arrows extend, and then the arrows flow. Cool. And we can keep on going. One thing to note, and again, this goes back to you may not like this and you may consider contributing. After every animation that you add, there's automatically a wait 1000 milliseconds or 1 second added. It's kind of annoying, actually. It's something I did not enjoy as I was putting this together. So consider contributing if you also don't like that functionality. Now, the other thing to know, and this is kind of a big deal when it comes to this other diagram that I put together. Let's come back to Chrome and we'll see in my diagram, look at all this background, right? See how these are showing up? And as different elements are activated, they're overlaid on top of them. Well, this isn't a transparency. I actually had to set these to have a fill, and in the case of the arrows, a stroke of an extremely light gray. When I tried to add transparency, it didn't work. Why? Well, that's because when an item is actually animated to show up, its opacity is automatically set to 100%. So if you spend hours fooling with opacity like I did, you're basically just wasting your time. I'm trying to save you time now so that you don't make the same mistake. Again, totally undocumented. So now that we have that figured out, we can come back into Draw.io, right? I'll add some animations here. We'll fade these in. We will wipe these in and finally fade in D. So I preview all of it. Cool, flow, C and B show up, more arrows, and D. I have to apply this. I can't tell you how many times I built out diagrams trying to figure this out and forgot to apply. There's nothing saying, hey, this hasn't been applied yet. You just kind of have to remember to do it. So I apply, and now we can actually run this in a browser. The big question is how. This was not easy to figure out at all. We come to File, and we want to export as, and we export it as a URL. That's going to build a very large URL with all of the SVG data built in that indicates what is supposed to animate, how and when and why. Cool. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to take off some of these features and we'll click Create. Cool. Look at the size of this. It's 1.1 kilobyte. My other one is like 2 megabytes. So it looks like this should have everything we need, doesn't it? It really does. So I'm going to copy. It's copied to clipboard. Awesome. I'm going to close. And then I'll come over to Chrome, paste this in. Cool. And it's not animated. This was frustrating. Going back to, it's not documented. It's not documented. Again, there's another video, shows you how to add animations, doesn't show you how to play the animations. So with the URL set up, all you get is this very, very static diagram. You have to add manually add on your own with hands, p equals anim to the query parameters. Now it's animated. That was frustrating to figure out. But now I saved you time, so you don't have to figure it out. Now, here's my animated diagram. And yes, that is extremely rudimentary and kind of sucks. So let's go back to my other diagram. All right, now here we are. Much more complicated diagram, a much more complicated set of animations. With all of that in mind, one other thing I want to show you is how I animated the different text items, because if we come back into the diagram, you'll see the text shows up right here with each step being annotated with additional text. Cool, how'd I do that? Well, come back into draw, you'll see here they all are piled on top of each other. And I'm gonna undo some things that I did before. And what I did in order to animate the text was I actually spread them all out. You can see there are line breaks, right? Some of these are at the top of their text box. Others are one line break in, right? So the text shows up on the second line. And these are all animated individually. And then what I did was I piled them all on top of each other. That's how I did it. That's how I animated all the text. So as for the transparency, again, it's not actually transparent. So if I look at view, layers, oh, it was at the bottom there, layers, and we click off animations, you could see this is an extraordinarily light gray, right? That's not actually transparent. So any transparency won't show up. And again, these are also animated. You have to animate everything that's going to show up in your diagram. And if you don't like this functionality, there's things you want to see, things you're more familiar with in other animation libraries and other animation platforms, consider contributing, right? Everyone knows Draw.io. If you contribute to this, it does look good on your resume, and all it takes is some JavaScript knowledge. Even just formatting. Again, going back to the code, like this is all over the place in terms of formatting. So even just readability would be a huge improvement so that other people can pick up this code and start adding functionality. Great. If you like this video, please consider dropping a like. If you want to see more videos like it, consider subscribing. And if there are things that I'm not covering that you want to see, things like this, add a comment, because I do make videos based on comments. Thanks for watching.